Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this interesting fireside conversation with Atul. What we're trying to cover here is a very important and pertinent topic where we're talking about leaders and the role that they play in building talent, not only talent at a certain level in the organization, but from the scratch. And at the times that we live in, the VUCA world, where the careers are not that linear, where it's about Gen Z being a part of the workforce, where AI is supposedly taking up our jobs. It's becoming even more important for leaders to invest a lot more in the communications industry to build talent for the future and ensure that the reputation of organizations are taken care of. So without much ado, Atul, I'll start with my first question. And just want to start just on the most important topic point here. In terms of, see, when we started out in our careers, mentorship concept was very different, we did not have social media, we did not have, we may have had Facebook, some of us, but otherwise social media was hardly non-existent, hardly existent, and it was difficult to reach out to people. You would meet people somewhere, at events, you would request them, sir, would you mentor me, ma'am, would you mentor me? Then you try to meet them one off, and then, that's about it. And then you just lose track because everybody gets busy with work. But now, with the digital world that we live in, what do you think? Do you think that the mentorship concept has changed? And especially how it has evolved over the years, considering Gen Z, considering a hybrid work culture that has come in?
Thank you so much, Akanksha. And without launching into a tirade of, हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता था, which I think we often end up saying when majority of, at least people in my age bracket talk about how they look at work. I feel that time around, and this is my personal belief and opinion that, PR practitioners, which was a very young, nascent profession that time around, we were more interested in the craft of it. So I think every idea, every campaign that came across, we were super interested, super excited about a campaign or super excited about attending a conference or going for a media round and so many more things. And I think today, if only one thing which probably for me, which has changed is probably the pride that each one of us associates with the profession. But coming back to, I think, the mentoring question, I definitely feel that I was lucky enough to get a lot of leaders who were really great at their craft, and they spent a lot of time with me, understanding my strengths, weaknesses, my pain points, and what I wanted to do. And to date today, I think the challenge that we face is that we have paucity of time. PR, unfortunately, has become a 24/7 profession. There is no, press doesn't come to an halt now in our lives. There's constantly communication which is going on. There are crises which happens at 2 o'clock in the night. And by virtue of that, what has happened is our profession has become a lot more about let's get it done, rather than, probably where is the next leader for the profession is going to come from. And I think that somehow has evolved the way our leaders today, in today's day and age, are behaving. We are more focused on the outcomes rather than on the long-term outcome. We've become more myopic in our ways of operating. And wherever leaders don't have that myopia, you will see that they are mentoring great leaders. They are making sure that that Guru Shishya bond that we often speak about, that is continued and that has kept that organization alive. So I think that one piece has changed the way probably mentoring is being looked at in a very different light.
I think that's a very valid point because now it's crisis can happen any minute, any second, and it can spiral into small little tweet can spiral into a big crisis.
Yeah. So, and I think just to, we had a panel before this where we had 8 speakers speak about crisis. There are only 2 people here trying to talk about mentorship. So that very much tells you, what is the kind of focus that we have on the topic that we're discussing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty pretty out there. So I think just coming back to say, I'm very curious to know this because you would have a lot of Gen Z in your organization. So how does this mentor-mentee relationship vary when it comes to Gen Z versus, I'm sorry to go back to saying our times, but then how has it evolved? Does Gen Z have the same kind of vigor? Does Gen Z expect you to be, so Gen Z essentially is more purpose-driven. They want people to give quick feedback is what I understand of them. And they also expect leaders to be very flexible. So what is your take there?
I feel every time, at least my leaders, when they tell me, this is a Gen Z problem, I think that's lazy leadership. To be very honest, I think we've always had a generational gap every time we were working with people. And as long as you make an attempt to understand what are the drivers for Gen Z and find them those drivers, I think that's more important. The problem is, like I said, because of paucity of time, what has happened is we've stopped listening. I think the first important thing for mentoring is you need to listen. You need to understand what is it that people want. What are the drivers for those people? What will help them to become better managers? What will help them to become better leaders? Majority of the times we just focus on getting the job done that we tend to forget to listen. And I think as long as we go back to that, we understand what are the drivers, we understand what are the kind of probably leeway that they want. We are understanding. I think we have having a very animated conversation a while back, and I think the only one thing came out of it that we have our own problems with Gen Z, but sometimes they do stellar work. That was one of the one of the people that we were having this discussion with said that they do stellar work. So I think the point is not lost. The fact is that whether it's Gen Z, whether it is Gen Alpha, or whether it is there's another term which is coming up. So the fact is, whosoever it is, I think as long as we understand the drivers, as long as we find what motivates them, what gets them going, I think we can always find the answers. And that answer has to be found by the mentors or the leaders who are right now sitting in these chairs. And I think that's where we make the change.
Interesting. I don't see many Gen Z here. But yeah, I think I recently got a chance to work with a Gen Z who was supposedly not like the best to work with, is what I was told. But I must say she did a great job of it. Only thing you had to do was just tell her that you know this best. You please do it, and you please be on ground. And I trust you. You please do this. And she did such a great job. I mean, I was totally surprised. So I think they are people who do a good job, and they are those sincere ones, and of course they are outliers. Just moving ahead on this, Atul, how do you think you'll institutionalize this? Because see, generally in organizations, what we see is, mentorship is from the top to say a mid-management level. But how do you institutionalize it from a standpoint of a mid-manager in your organization trying to mentor some top performers that you see very early on?
So it's a slightly, I think we always find answers which are, when we talk about individuals, those answers are easy to find, because you need to speak to individuals, get that get that behavior going, and probably we don't need to drive an entire organization behind it. But when it comes to organizations, what tends to happen is whatever you incentivize, that's what gets going. So if you are going to focus on bringing in new business, that's something which the entire organization is going to go after. Unfortunately, right now, I don't think mentorship is something which majority of us are right now trying to incentivize, because it's one of those softer things, right? You need to do this because you need to be a better manager. You need to keep nice culture. As long as we are able to drive mentorship and find a connect between mentorship and your retention levels, find a connection between mentorship and your business retention levels on your acquiring business levels, I think that's when organizational will start putting the money where the mouth is. And I think right now the challenge is that we are not actually right now promoting that behavior. We are not getting people to find time to get to talk to people and mentor them. And that's where I think if you ask me, we at a PRCI level, we were trying to figure out, this question, we were trying to find answers to this question at a more industry level, that how do we make PR more aspirational? And I think one of the things that we found out was that whenever there are young people joining our profession as interns, a large chunk of the times they don't come back. They go to, and we lose them to other professions like advertising, market research, consulting. And a large chunk of that is they feel that there's a lot of grunt work which needs to be done, but nobody's actually mentoring them. Nobody's speaking to them, trying to find out what is it that they need to do. And I think if we are able to find that connect, I feel we should have the right answers, even at an organization level.
Yeah, interesting. So I think a lot of work cut out for leaders who run organizations to ensure that this is taken care of. Now, since we've spoken a lot about AI and tech, I just wanted to, pick your view on how does scalable mentorship look like in this world of tech AI, and also just to touch upon a little different topic, but is there something called like for lack of better word, reverse mentorship that we leaders like us can learn from the younger lot in terms of AI and things like that?
No, definitely. I think if you ask me, I think one of the things that has changed between us and the people that we work with is that there's a lot that we can learn from them, whether it is to do with technology, whether it's to do with AI, whether it's to do with a lot of other things which probably they pick up way faster than us. So definitely, yes, a lot to learn there. As long as, and like every other sphere, AI is able to influence. So, one of the things that one of the platforms we are talking about is there's a interesting platform called Kronos on which you can actually mentor people. So I found it a little hard to believe. I haven't tried it yet, but there's an AI tool for that as well. So that's one part of it. But I feel definitely, making sure mentoring is a lot of also about continuity, making sure that we do it over and over and over again. Sit down, listen, talk, find out solutions, probably get to ask the right questions rather than getting to the solutions with people. Identify what is it that you can work with your team and help them move in the right direction. So there's a lot that technology can do in automating a lot of stuff which is required to keep the entire mentoring machinery going. So yes, definitely.
Interesting. This brings me to a question which I wanted to really ask, and considering that I worked with some of the very inspiring leaders in my career, some good, some bad, but they did influence me in the right way possible. And I always keep thinking, like at what point does a leader, a CEO or an MD of an organization, he stops thinking about being a manager of outcomes, like you've been saying, and start becoming a builder of people. Because I have worked with leaders who've been people leaders, like hands down. Like, they will call you at 1 in the night and you will just do it because they called you and you have to do it. Not like you have to do it, because you have that respect for them. So how do you kind of transition from just getting outcomes because, somebody's, oh God, the CEOs also have to do, versus, yeah, I have so much respect and this is my team, this is what I owe to my organization, or it's my team, I really believe in it, so I have to do it.
See, I'll try and answer it in the best possible way that I can, but I think if I have to reflect back on my own journey, there are three points in my life wherein I felt that I made a major switch and my mentors helped me in that. So right from an associate to a manager wherein you were completely focused on your individual contribution. It didn't matter what your teammate was doing. You were so focused on making sure that that WIP goes out, or that media round update goes out, or those 3 pitches that were given to you, that gets done in the best possible manner, and you are completely focused on that. Then you move to a manager level wherein you realize that you need to be responsible for your own output, but you also need to be responsible for somebody else's output, and you could really focus on the short run and get the work done. But in the long run, if you want that person to continue working with you and maintain that stability, you need to give them a vision, a larger picture where you're going. I think if you ask me, that's where the rubber meets the road. When you start realizing what people's aspirations are, what their dreams are, you try to find answers for them, and you will see that people, and I think genuinely, if you ask me, a large chunk of the people that work with me I feel that I work for them and not the other way around. I work for them, and when I say that I work for them, I'm interested in what they want to do in their lives. Where will their growth come from? Where will their learning come from? And that's where I think mentoring kicks in, according to me, wherein you know what your people want, wherein you believe that this is the next challenge which will do this person really good, and you push them in the right direction. And for that, like as I was saying, you need to listen actively, because if you're not listening to your people and you're gloating in that pride that, oh, you know, I am responsible for your growth, it's not going to lead you much anywhere. So understand their aspirations, give them those opportunities, and you'll realize that majority of the time people just want to, you know, have fun, get salary at the end of the month, and be happy. I think nobody wants more drama than that.
I agree. I agree. I think that's a very valid point. I just have one last question. So if there's something, there aren't many that I see as first-time leaders in the room, but just want to take your view in terms of what are the things that first-time leaders should do. Some piece of advice for them to ensure that they can start building talent very early.
I think, you know, I'm just going to repeat myself a lot to what I said a little while ago. One is listen actively. Listen actively, and you'll realize that, you know, people believe in you. People believe that they are safe with you. People believe that you are working for them. You are helping them achieve their ambitions, their goals, and they will come along with you. You know, wherever you are. I think that's part one. Which, second, I think in this age of technology, AI, you'll realize that, you know, if you don't keep up pace, chances are that, you know, the teams who are working with you will feel that there's not much that we can learn from this person. Because, you know, suddenly you'll feel out of depth in a lot of places. So whether, you know, you know how to use it, you don't know how to use it, I'll completely not get into the specifics of it. But if you don't know what a particular tool is capable of, my recommendation is get a good hang of it. And I think I'll shamelessly put in a plug here. In January at Rudafin, we are doing something called the AI workshop. Our global CTO and global CEO, she's coming down and running a AI workshop for corporate communicators, where we will give them people a flavor of how tools work. You know, what is prompt engineering? How do you look at, you know, when AIs hallucinate, how do you find that out? And different tools, right, from Sora to ChatGPT to Perplexities and all of the world. But I think the intent is keep on learning. What are the tools that you require in today's day and age? I think that's the second thing that I would want you to keep in mind. Third thing, which I feel has helped me a lot. So don't work for business. Don't look at client acquisition. Don't look at people. Look at tomorrow, how the world will want to remember you. And it's a very big question, you know, from a legacy perspective. Do you want to be remembered as a boss with whom people had a lot of fun, or a leader with whom people enjoyed working? You know, they just came along because they felt that it was a good person to work with. I think as long as you have that legacy clear in your head, and it's my favorite assignment which I give to a lot of people when they come for interviews, to write their own eulogy. And I get to know a lot about what people want to do in their lives. So a large chunk of them don't write about PR. A large chunk of them, they have very different aspirations in life. And I think if you find that out about people, chances are that, you know, that's where we'll find most of the answers for your leadership style and what you could do from a mentoring perspective.
I think, thank you. That's pretty insightful. Before I close, if there are any questions, we can take a couple of them, although we're running out of time. Or any experiences anybody wants to share. Seems like.
Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.